What's up, Flick fans? I watched We Live in Time. This is Andrew Garfield, Florence Pugh, and A24.
There is something that your daddy and I...
Something that Mummy and me want to...
We want to talk to you about.
So an up-and-coming chef and recent divorcee finds their lives forever changed when a chance encounter brings them together in a decade-spanning, deeply moving romance. This movie's rated R for language, sexuality, and nudity. Also, some sad sequences and some moments that'll make you sniffly. Now, I went into this expecting it to be like the saddest movie of the year because circumstantially, what we kind of know that it's about based off of the trailer, and the fact that you kind of know where this movie's going, I'd say for the most part. Now, they do some very interesting and creative things with the storytelling. We'll discuss that, but as we expect, it does play out in a way that will tug on your heartstrings and pull on those emotional chords. Couldn't say strings again. Now, I was told by a lot of people on Twitter that this is one of those that's going to make you cry. No matter what. You're going to get teary-eyed. You're going to walk out weeping, whatever it may be. That's how I'm going to feel. And based off of what I saw in the trailer, I'm like, yeah, I could see that. Absolutely. Now, I don't think this emotionally affected me as much as I wanted it to personally, but I don't think that's anything against the quality of the movie. It's not really that type of film. It's not the type of movie that is one long, drawn-out series of sad sequence after sad sequence, because this is all about two people, one person, but really two people, trying to forget about this medical diagnosis, push past it, and do what makes them happy, but it's also about them finding each other and falling in love in the first place. See, this movie, it's not necessarily told in order. There's a chronological order that's missing here, and we're going back and forth here and there. At times, I'm like, okay, now we're here. This is after they met. This is before they had a kid, yada, yada, yada. But once you put the puzzle pieces together, there's actually a nice element to the structure there. So that's kind of where the A24-isms come in. You see A24, and you're like, they got to do something different. That's what they do different. But again, oftentimes when you see movies like this, there's a lot of sadness involved. And with this one, it's absolutely there. But it's more about living in the moment, cherishing those moments with your loved ones, significant others, doing what makes you happy. And that's what Florence Pugh's character does in this film. She's very talented, a brilliant skater, a phenomenal chef. There's something that she wants to do all throughout this movie, but her cancer diagnosis is kind of keeping her from trying to attain that. And Garfield's character's like, no, you got to focus on getting better because that's the most important thing here. But all of these things that she wants to do, and she says it at one point in the movie in the third act, because I don't just want to be remembered as what I am now. I want to achieve something more. And I believe that is a beautiful place to put her character as someone who is faced with dire circumstances, and we could have just dwelled on that through most of the movie, which is what I expected this to be. That's why I expected it to be so sad. But it's more of an optimistic take on a situation like this, which I really appreciate. That's not what a lot of people are going to be looking for. They want to be swept away in these emotions, and in its own way, it does that. But it's also like, what can I do, not to distract myself, but to achieve things with the time that I know I have. And that's really beautiful. And so I love the fact that they did that. I also like their journey to parenthood put on display. The trailer opens up with a little girl, so it's not a spoiler, but the way that they go about that, the birthing scene, that was hilarious. I was surprised by how much I was chuckling all the way through that. And as in any good relationship, there's going to be a great sense of humor between the two. And there's absolutely a great sense of humor there. How they meet at the beginning of this movie is somewhat humorous and just really good, man. The banter, two phenomenal top-tier actors. You know you're going to get that. But you also know you're going to get those cliches that often hold this genre, if you will, back. And this definitely has those, right? It's not a script that, initially I'm like, could this be an Oscar-worthy script? It's not necessarily that. But for the story that they're telling, just one that makes for a pleasant experience, I don't know if it needed to be that. And that's the thing about We Live in Time. I could see a lot of people just sitting back going, yeah, I've seen this 1,000 times before with other really famous actors in the leads. And whether it becomes more melancholy or tries to be a lot more emotional than this one ends up being, I have seen this story told, and you have seen this story told. But again, I like the actors involved. I like the fact that it was more optimistic than I expected. Because of that, you're not sitting back crying the whole time, but I actually thought that was a nice touch. There are numerous reasons why, while you're watching, you're just kind of thinking quality across the board, right? Cinematography, a score that's not emotionally manipulative, but it is moving, and you are exploring the life of these two, how it was, not quite how it is, because the way that this is structured, it feels more like you are seeing these memories in a way that makes them feel pleasant, even though all of them aren't pleasant. Some of the conversations that they have, obviously not everything's going to be smooth sailing, but the second half kind of evens out in terms of that storytelling, and it takes place more in the moment. John Crowley, who directed The Goldfinch, which I didn't love, but Brooklyn is a really good movie. The way that film is structured, told, all of the emotional elements. So it's going to be present in a film like this. When you have that directorial combination with these two actors and this studio, obviously, and everything about it, it's just a nice combination of, again, elements from a story that has been told before, just not necessarily in this way. And also the title, you can apply that to kind of the message of the film. We have to live in the moment, not necessarily worry about tomorrow as much. That's something that Garfield's character tells Pugh's character. I know I'm not saying their names, but they're very famous actors. So before I give you my score, what's your favorite sad movie where someone gets sick, but it's a romance? It's that genre that we're dealing with here. Honestly, this may be one of the best, and I think that has a lot to do with the way that it's handled. Leave those thoughts down below, and if you enjoyed this video, you want to see more reviews like it, dropping that thumbs up tells me so. Oh, and drop a like if you want to see me review Smile 2. We Live in Time tells a familiar story, yet we see this emotional series of events play out in a beautifully optimistic way that feels like a celebration of life. Garfield and Pugh have excellent chemistry, are surprisingly funny together, and effectively pull on the heartstrings again. I wasn't as emotional as I thought I would be, but a lot of that has to do with the way that it's handled and this celebration of life more so than looking at it in a devastating way, as it could have done. And I appreciate that. Again, man, just really high quality stuff across the board. I liked this. I don't know if I recommend this being a first date film, in case you do get too emotional, but go see it with the family to devastate them. All right, I'll see you soon.